Hey everybody, and welcome to What Up Clay channel. We're talking about all kinds of things, how to fix it, build it, maintain it, as well as product review. Today we're going to talk about how I rewired my 2006 GMC Silverado 1500 hybrid. I rewired the battery to accept different batteries, which are a lot less expensive. And I explained the hybrid system on this truck. Is it really a hybrid? Technically, no, it's not. I don't know why they call it a hybrid, but they do. But before we get going, I'd like to apologize and ask for your forgiveness for my bumbling throughout this video. I was in a hurry to get this done, and I didn't have time to do a bunch of reshoots and editing and this and that and patty whack, give a dog bone, all this other stuff. So anyhow, let's get to it and go learn some. So I think it'd be best to understand exactly how this hybrid system works on this truck. This is an article that Top Speed put out on the 2005-2006 GMC Silverado 1500 hybrid. I highlighted this and copied it and put it right, pasted it right here. Again, this is from topspeed.com. As in hybrid cars, the gas engine shuts off at stoplights to save fuel, and an electric motor restarts the engine when the gas pedal is pushed. Unlike most hybrids, the electric motor does not help propel the vehicle. So, the batteries in this truck, underneath the back seat, these hybrid batteries, all they do is start the truck. They do nothing else. They don't propel it. They don't move it forward. Nothing. The only stress that's put on them is starting that engine, which is not that big of a stress on the electric motor because they have electric. It's the same truck engine that they use in all their trucks. So a regular starter would be just fine with a regular 12-volt battery. It's just that these are bigger batteries because the motor shuts off and restarts and so on. And with the more voltage, it allows the motor to start quicker. So the question is this really a hybrid truck? No, it's not. If this was a hybrid truck, that means every car out there is a hybrid. The only thing that makes it close to a hybrid is the fact that it shuts off at a stoplight. That's it. But all the new cars nowadays, all the upper cars nowadays do that same thing, and they're not hybrids. So anyhow, this should make you feel more comfortable to make the change to these smaller size batteries and how the whole system works.
Okay, so this top plastic panel, I'll get you guys know about how to take this thing off. To take this thing off, you have a clip back here you got to pop out. And you got to pop out these 3 pins right here around the socket, and then you have one on this side, and then you have some over there and along the front, as you can see. Now how these things work is when you first look at it, they're flat like that. See, like this one right here, it's just flat. Now how do you get it out is you get yourself a little pin, little screwdriver, something like that, and you just push. I don't want to break that clip, but you push this pin in. See, I just pushed it in, and then you just take yourself a little flathead screwdriver or something, pop that off, and it'll pop out. Now when you go to put them back on, you have to make sure that you pop that pin out. So you see the pins in, you have to push the needle here. Try and do the one hand. So there you go. See that? You push it back out. You can put it back in the hole. Put this back up. Line it up. Put this back in the hole. Like that there. And then you just push the pin. Now it's flat. And the thing is stuck in. So that's how these pins work. Once you get this off, there'll be a metal cap underneath. And that metal cap has 8mm hex heads, socket heads that you just use your socket wrench. You take those things out, no big deal, or you use your drill, whatever, pop them out. But yeah, that's the metal plate that's underneath here, and then you open that up and you'll see all the glory underneath it. Okay, so here's what I have. This is the passenger side. You can see I have one battery here, and I have two batteries down there. I do have a cover that I put over them, as you've seen in some of my pictures and earlier videos, but right now I took the covers off so you can see. Now, the wiring, what I put on here, I put 2-gauge wire. I replaced the other wire that they had. The factory one that they had was 2-aught, which is this right here, and I used 2-gauge, which is a little thinner. The reason why they use 2-aught, I have no idea. There's no way that electric motor up there is pulling a current flow of over 2,000 amps. I mean, or 2,000 watts, which is 200 amps. But another reason why I know it's okay to use, because this right here, the factory wiring, that's a 2-aught, correct? This is the wire that goes to the front of the truck, to the controller. That right there can't be more than 2-aught. So, I mean, it's the same thickness as this.
So instead of trying to explain the gauges inside the video, why I use certain gauge wire, I decided to go ahead and show you this wire chart here. This wire chart here, also known as current flow chart, gauge chart, it depends on who's explaining it. But what this does here is this helps you to determine what gauge wire you need depending on the current flow and the length of the power of the wire run. Now, if you look over here in a 3% voltage drop critical, it says 0 to 6 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet, 25 feet. This is the section that I go by. Now, if you look at the cable that goes from the battery box all the way to the front of the vehicle, to the control box, it's approximately a 2-aught gauge wire. Now, 2-aught gauge is also, it's basically a 2/0 AWG. So if you go to 15 feet and you go all the way to the right where it says 2/0 AWG, you'll see that that cable right there is good for up to 200 amps. Being in this field for as long as I have, I know for a fact there's no way that that electric motor is drawing 200 amps. It's just, no way. And especially inside the battery box, drawing 200 amps from each battery inside the battery box, no way. So I went ahead and used the 2-gauge. Now the 2-gauge, if you look all the way over, you'll see that it's good for up to 120 amps. I still knew there's no way that was going to draw that much current, but I'd used it anyway just to be on the safe side. Maybe they knew something I didn't know. Obviously they do, because they do this a lot more than I do. But that aside, I still knew that it wasn't going to draw that much. Now, I didn't have a chance to check the current draw before I did this job because the battery's completely dead and the truck wouldn't start at all. Nothing. Not even a crank, nothing. Not even a click. So, after I got everything done and wired up, I did check the current draw, and it was just under 30 amps. So if you go to 0 to 6 feet, because the longest wire that I have inside that battery box is approximately 4 feet, just under 4 feet. But if you go to 0 to 6 feet and you go over to 30 amps, you'll see that the recommended gauge wire is 10 gauge. So I could use 10 gauge and been pretty fine. 10 gauge is a heck of a lot smaller than 2 gauge. If I was to do this job over again, I would probably use an 8 gauge. 6 gauge at the most. That's what I would use. If this is your truck, your job, you can use whatever gauge you want. You can use 2 gauge if you like. I would recommend nothing bigger than a 4 gauge, but obviously nothing smaller than a 10 gauge. So anyhow, this is the difference between gauges. This is why I used the gauge that I did. Now, if you have any questions about the wiring gauges and stuff like that, please put it in the comment section of this video, and I will get back to you. I'll answer the best I can. But when you do buy wiring, please make sure, this is very, very, very important. Make sure that you get oxygen-free copper wiring, also known as OFC, oxygen-free copper. Do not get the other cheaper wire, which they call copper-clad aluminum. What copper-clad aluminum is it's aluminum wire that's coated with copper. Don't get that stuff. It doesn't flow as well. Power doesn't flow as well as aluminum as it does in copper. So stay away from that. Get the OFC, oxygen-free copper. That's the gauge wire that you see here. That's what that is referencing to, is the OFC wiring, the oxygen-free cable or oxygen-free copper wiring. So, all right, let's get back to the install. And again, any questions on this, put in the comments section.
So what I had to do is I had to cut the box out here. This is where the big battery went right across through here. So I had to cut this out. The factory battery that was in here was 55 amp hour battery. The ones I have in here now are a these are 50 amp hour battery. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll put it in the description. I'll show you a picture of those. You know what? Let me show you the difference of the batteries and the sizes, and show you why I went with these and why these right here work.
All right, so here's the differences between the batteries. The Panasonic battery on the left, you can see that's the factory battery. You can see how substantially bigger that one is. It's over 15 inches in length, 5.5 inches wide, and about 6.9 inches tall. And I replaced it with the with another battery, the NPP battery, which is half the length and about the same height, and it's a little bit wider, which is why I had to cut out the battery box. So they're both 12 volts. The factory one is 55 amp hour battery. The one I replaced it with is a 50 amp hour battery. The only difference is the 55, what the amp hour means is how many amps you can apply to that battery for 1 hour before the battery dies. So we're not putting 50 amps to this battery for an hour. We're not even putting 30 amps to this battery for an hour. Because that's 30 amps is about what I got when I tested the cranking on it. So it was just under 30 amps. So the cranking wise, you're looking at just under a second. But the difference is if you drive in heavy traffic nonstop, and you have the truck set up to where it shuts off, comes back on, shuts off, every time you stop, then that's where amp hour is important. But if you don't stop and start, and you don't have that's part of the system set up, then you don't have to worry about big amp hour. Either way, 50 amp hours, you're not gonna miss it. You're not gonna miss that extra 5 amp hours. You're just not. Cranking amps, as you can see with the one I put in there, is 500 amps. That's for a 5-second burst. Now, again, I measured just under 30 amps, and it's for a split second. So you're just fine. And it's also doing 500 amps with 3 batteries. So technically that's 1500 amps. You don't have to worry about burning up this battery by cranking it. And this is also the battery I use is an AGM, which withstands temperatures a lot better, harsh temperatures a lot better. You don't have to worry about it overheating and all this other stuff as easily as the Panasonic one. This is the one I put in. The AGM is also a SIL battery, so you don't need to have the vent tubes like you do on the Panasonic, the factory battery, and so on. And it's also designed to be cycled a lot more than the Panasonic battery is. So that's the difference between the batteries. You can go ahead and pause if you want to go through more of the differences and stuff like that. But another thing is, big difference is the Panasonic, they no longer make it, as you know. They don't make that battery anymore. And if you did find it, if you were able to get it, you're looking in the neighborhood about, I think they're $800 or $900. Where the as of the making of this video, which is a 2024. The NPP battery, that one runs about 120 bucks for each battery. So another big plus there. And yeah, let's get on with the rest of the video.
Okay, so now you know why I use these batteries. These right here, they're smaller, they're almost the same height, but I just had to cut this out over here. Now there was a computer that went on this side. That computer is now right there. This is now the computer. I didn't have to extend any wires or anything like that. I just pulled off some wiring clips and put it over there. Then I made I put the Velcro underneath it to keep it from moving around, and I also put a support clamp on top to push it down. Looking at it, it seemed to be pretty sealed, so I'm not worried about water getting into it. But if you're worried about it, you can put a sheet, like a plastic sheet or something like that, over the top of this. It comes off the side, so when water hits it, just goes off the side. But anyways, that's up to you. Let's see, I had these wires here, went to the other battery. I did not put these back on. These right here are, from what I gather from doing the research on these right here are for the truck, so the truck knows to stop, that the batteries are fully charged, and when you come to a stop, the batteries will shut off. Or I mean, not the battery, but the engine will shut off. And then when you get going, the engine starts going again. So anyhow, without those connected, the engine never shuts off. Am I sad about that? Absolutely not, because I hate that. So this right here is the driver's side. Again, you can see how I just kind of cut everything out and made this fit. And then I made a clamp that goes over the top of this that holds this down. I screwed it to the front piece here, and it holds the battery here. You do not want these batteries bouncing around. If you have the batteries bouncing around, you're gonna have problems. They're gonna short out, they're gonna mess up, they're gonna do something. So yeah, you don't want these batteries bouncing around at all. But let me go ahead and show you the driver's side. Again, this is the passenger side. I don't know if I said it right, but this is the passenger side. Also, when you're working on this thing, this right here is the quick disconnect. You just turn this like this and it pops out. The batteries here are no longer connected to the front, and vice versa. So it makes it safe to work with. All right, let's go to the driver's side and I'll show you that one. Okay, this is the driver's side. So these two batteries, they fit together. As you can see, I shaved it off here on this side, and then over here I shaved it on this side. And then I've used wire loom on that edge, just in case the battery bumps up against it, it's not going to damage the battery. The batteries are wired up in series. If you not sure what that is, research it. It's very important. So what it is, it goes, you see here, for example, you have this battery, this is negative, this is positive over here. So this one comes around and goes back to this battery over here, this terminal over here. This positive here goes to the negative on that side. And then you see the red positive over there, that goes down to the switch down there on that side. And then the negative on this battery here, you can see there, connects to this unit here. And then this right here goes over to the negative side of the disconnect. This right here is on the factory location. This fan's the factory location. The plugs right here, those are the plugs you see right there, AC plugs. These right here, the factory location. That fuse box right there's a fuse underneath that. That's in the factory location. The only thing I moved was obviously the walls fit the battery, that computer down there, and course, cut this out so I can fit this in. But yeah, that's how I made this thing work. I made a bracket right here that fits over the top, and it screws from this side. You don't see the screws over here because you put the plastic case over the top of it, and you don't see anything screwed in over here. Just make sure you don't screw into the batteries. So yeah, I have it so that the batteries don't bounce up and down, they don't rock back and forth, they won't move, they're stuck. So, but let me go ahead and let me crank this thing up. I'll show you the amp draw, and you'll see that it works, and you'll see that the current draw is not that much. Okay, in case you want to know how I did the covers, if you see here, this here, there's a what they call a speed clip on the inside, has a screw going through it, screws on this side. This right here is made out of ABS plastic. You could take ABS plastic, you could heat it up and bend it, form it, do whatever. That's how you see it here. And then I use the factory bolt here to hold this side down, and it'll hold this down to hold both batteries. So that's the driver's side. Let me show you the passenger side. All right, here's the driver's side. I have the two screws here. They go to speed clips on the inside. Again, you can just heat it up, bend it. Now you're wondering why it sits up so high. I did it like that so when I put the cover on, the cover will actually push this down and help hold the battery down so that it does not move whatsoever. The clamp under here, I have it, you can't really see it, but it's behind that cushion, but it's actually screwed to the back wall and pushing down on the computer right there. So now when you put the metal cover back on, you'll have to cut it out so that it doesn't cut these wires, because you have to cut this section all the way out on the metal beam over. You'll see it when you go to put it back on. You'll see that it will hit these wires. You do not want the metal hitting these wires, and then you want to like make sure you zip tie these down real nice. Underneath here, you put wire loom like this. I just took the wire loom out from underneath so that I don't know, I was messing around with it, but the wire loom will be like this so that the wires don't rest on the metal edge. So because if you cut these wires, it's going to short everything out. But anyhow, and there was a lot of bumbling in this, but I don't have time to cut and retake and cut and retake, so I apologize for the bumbling. Anyhow, there you have it. Let's get back to the rest of the install. Okay, to show the amperage, how much amperage this thing draws when it starts, I think I said 8 amps earlier. Or after I said, I'm like, no, I don't think that was right. I think it was close to around 20 amps on a crank. But here's the dash to show that so here's the clamp I have connected here to show you the amp draw. I'm trying to get out of glare. There you go. So I know right there it says amp AC, amp AC, amp DC. Amperage is amperage, doesn't matter. I know I get some people arguing that, but yeah, I've run different tests and amperage is amperage. The only thing difference is voltage, is the way it flows. That's the only difference between the two, really. Anyways, yeah, let me go ahead and show you the dash when I start it up so you can see that there are no trouble lights, and I'll also show you the amperage. Okay, I'm gonna start the key, turn the lights on. You see right here, all the lights work. Therefore, you know I didn't remove any test lights or any of the light bulbs or anything like that. Now go ahead and start it, and you'll see the amp draw. Let's see if I can. Here we go. See if I can get it without getting a glare. Here we go. I'm kind of reading it upside down. I couldn't read what that was, but I think it was like 28 amps or something like that. As you can see right here, the RPMs is running. The only lights you see are the brake light and the seatbelt light. But runs great, no issues. Okay, for those that are still a little skeptical about the check engine light, as you can see by the temperature gauge over there, this has been running for probably close to 5 minutes now, a little over 5 minutes. No check engine lights. Rev it up. Nothing. This is the hybrid truck. You can see it over there. Hybrid, and you would have the AC plug right there that turns on or the switch to turn on the AC plugs. Putting in gear. Nothing. No check engine lights. You can hear the car shifting into gear. Yeah, there you have it. No check engine lights. Again, I've driven this thing quite a bit. I put a few miles on it, and still nothing. Just had it smogged a couple weeks ago. So if there wasn't any check engine lights, this thing would not have passed smog. This is a California truck, so you know that's important. All right, guys, let's get back to the video. So there's a picture of the lid. Partially, I just have to finish putting all the screws in, but you can see how I had to cut it out along here so that this cover here will not cut into these wires. And then you can see how I have the loom right here on this edge that runs all the way across out the other side right there, all the way to right here. That's so that these wires don't rest on that edge and possibly cut it. But yeah, that's with the lid on it, and that's the cutout I had to make.
So there you have it. This is how I rewired my truck with new batteries. I hope this was informative for you, this video, and I hope you learn from it. I hope it helps you out. I hope it's able to get your truck back on the road if yours was dead like mine and just sitting there rotting away because you had no batteries. So, if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. If you didn't like the video, hit the like button, subscribe anyway, just so you can make fun of all my other videos. Alright, everybody, you have a good one.